Welcome back to the Communication Mastery podcast with me, Mark Burlinson. This is where we unleash the power of understanding to build bridges and not boxes, because we understand that communication is the oxygen of teamwork. We all need communication to thrive in life and work. And in this podcast, we want to increase your communication mastery so that we can all learn to adapt to one another and be effective in our communication. So thanks for being here. Let's learn together. Welcome back. And this week, interesting episode for you. I'm going to call this one Goldmine. I've been thinking about a whole bunch of little one-line statements that they give us an advantage in communication mastery, but they may well be things that just trigger a thought for you. So a whole bunch of unrelated thoughts here, but they're all in the one-liner kind of mode. So let's just run through a few of those, and I'll comment on each one as I make them. First one I often say is that you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. All of us have blind spots, and it amuses me sometimes when I'm working with clients or even with business groups where suddenly somebody gets an aha moment where they see something that they hadn't noticed about themselves or about the team or about their significant other. They get this light bulb moment, and it's always very rewarding because it reinforces what I just said, that you don't know what you don't know. But once somebody else who does know what they're doing steps into the picture alongside you to help you, very often that will open the door to an insight or an understanding or a strategy that can make such a difference going forward. And too often those things can lead to regret if we leave it too long as well. An example I think I've used on the podcast before, I asked my wife the wrong question for probably, 20 years of our marriage. I would ask her, what do you think, when we had a big decision to make? But her communication profile starts out with feeling languages, not thinking languages. And so more often than not, she couldn't give me an answer to the question, what do you think? She didn't know. But when I ask her, how do you feel about this? She can tell me straight away. I didn't know what I didn't know until we took the communication profile and I recognized I was asking the wrong question. It was an aha moment that the coach who took us through those profiles helped me to see so that I could take advantage of it. And the 10, 15 years since I realized that have been so different in our marriage because now our communication is at a much deeper level. Very simple little change, but you don't know what you don't know. Second one-liner, it would be build bridges and not boxes. We live in a society where it's so easy to box people in, whether it's politically, culturally, racially, economically, nationally. We have so many boxes we put one another into, and it's almost as though that box defines you, and now you're one of them and I'm one of us, and now there's an immediate rift between us. And our society has become increasingly divisive. And that's part of what motivates me to do what I do, because I have the firm belief, a deep belief, that we have to invest in building bridges. We are definitely a community species. We're designed to relate to one another and to collaborate with one another. And we're always better when we work as a team than when we divide ourselves and work individually. I always say that team stands for together, everyone achieves more. And my goal as a communication coach is to break down some of those boxes and build bridges between people instead. But it takes skill to do that, doesn't it? It's hard to build a bridge with somebody who at first glance looks to be very different from you. That's why I love working with teams where their profiles are so different. You've got somebody who's strong in the contemplator language, for example, and another who's strong in the responder language, whereas the third one is very strong in the doer language. And all three of those are very different languages to lead with and to interact with others with. But when you help them see their strengths and the strengths that the others bring to the table that they don't have, then there's this great warmth that suddenly comes into their teamwork where they recognize they each have a piece of the puzzle and they can put it together. So that's why I love to say build bridges and not boxes. Third one-liner in our one-line gold mine is to listen, to understand rather than to respond. So much of our interaction is resting on my listening to you, is me thinking about what am I going to say in return, or how am I going to respond to you. But if I really listen to what are you fully saying, can I clarify what you're saying? Can I use active listening? Then if I'm listening to understand, I'm going to have a much better response for you than if I respond just out of myself. And so it's important that we practice that skill. It's a muscle that doesn't grow without being exercised. And this is an area where communication bodybuilding is so important. We want to listen to understand more than listen to respond. And one of the ways you can do that is to reflect to a person what you think you've heard. If you know you've got to do that first before you give them your opinion or your response, then you're going to focus on what is that person really saying. And then you reflect to them what you think you've heard and ask them to say again, did you get it right? Did you miss something? Is there more to what they're saying than what you've already heard? And then respond again, reflect that. And as we do that, active listening, our understanding deepens, and therefore our connection deepens, because connection and understanding are close siblings. And it's a connection that we're looking for rather than the response. Response is important because communication is always a two-way street, but response that does not come from understanding is no response at all. That's simply me telling you what I think when I didn't listen to you. So we want to listen to understand rather than simply listening to respond. Every great marriage is built on connection. Can you imagine what it would be like if you had a marriage where every conversation brings you closer together rather than further apart? A marriage where what you say is actually understood and not misrepresented. It is possible to have a marriage like that. And if you'd like that, I invite you to go to my website and click on Communication IQ for Couples. Let's make a start today on your marriage embracing communication mastery. My fourth one-liner is a fun one, and it's a difficult one to apply. Distress is an invitation to help. Distress is an invitation to help. We're not drawn to people who are in distress, are we? Somebody who's communicating to you that they don't feel heard, or they don't feel accepted, or they don't feel that they have enough space. Any ways that someone is reflecting distress to you tends to push us away from them. We tend to back away from people in distress. But if we can train ourselves to see distress as an invitation to help, then we can gain friends, we can gain influence, and we can increase communication mastery, because it's going to deepen your understanding of the 7 communication styles to figure out, why is this person in distress? What distress is this person experiencing? Which language is it that is an indication of? And then what are the needs of that language? What is the filter question? What is the need from others? What is the character strength? What is the driving passion? How can I validate those things? How can I answer those questions? How can I meet those needs? We grow our understanding of the 7 communication styles by understanding distress in that way, seeing it as an invitation to help. An interesting analogy, my wife is a qualified first aider, and every time we pass any kind of emergency, a wreck on the highway, she's like, shall we stop and help? Because she wants to help with the skills that she has. Well, you can be a communication first aider by understanding those 7 communication styles. When you see someone in distress, when you see somebody miscommunicating, now you want to step in and make a difference for them. Not as someone who has all the answers and you tell them what's right and they're wrong, but as somebody who understands, hey, I see that your communication tank is drained here. Can I help you fill it again? And that approach really, really helps. So distress is an invitation to help. And that's a one-liner that all of us can usefully remember and put into practice. Next one-liner is self-awareness is priceless. Too many of us don't really understand the way we're wired. But there was I think it was a Harvard Business Review study one time that said that self-awareness is more valuable than an MBA in executive leadership. That you can get all the way through an MBA but still lack self-awareness, and so be unaware of the impact you're having on all the people that you're now qualified to lead. And too often it's hard to gain self-awareness, isn't it? Because of the one-liner we dealt with earlier, that you don't know what you don't know, self-awareness can often be an elusive gift, but it's something that others can help you achieve, provided you're willing to look for it yourself. And so I wanted to highlight with this one-liner that there's got to be two parts to self-awareness. The self-awareness that you're willing to look for in yourself, but also the self-awareness that comes from external input. And so both of those are hugely valuable to you, because unless you know your starting point, you cannot get to your goal. And your starting point is who you are and how you are now in this place. There may be all kinds of strengths to that. There may also be all kinds of weaknesses to that. But until you understand those strengths and those weaknesses, those contributions that you have to offer, as well as the pitfalls that you need to be aware of and avoid, you have to have that self-awareness if you are to reach your goal and fulfill your potential. And so priceless value in self-awareness. Don't just rely on your own self-awareness. Get external tools to help you gain self-awareness and grow self-awareness. Things like the communication IQ profile, of course, but also get input from those around you. The people who know you best, ask them for input. Maybe get somebody who will tell you the truth. I had a friend one time who had a quote. He said, if you can find someone who'll tell you the truth, pay them, because that's an invaluable gift to you, increasing your self-awareness. Self-awareness is a priceless gift, and it's something that all of us can grow if we set ourselves to do so. Here's another one-liner. Care enough to adapt, because you may be more skilled at doing that than those around you. Care enough to adapt. None of us is identical. We're all different from one another, aren't we? And that means that if we're not careful, we don't make connections because we're not alike. But we are all equipped in our communication profiles to adapt to one another. You can lean into a language that may not be your preferred style, but it is still there in your profile, especially if it's in the middle. It's one that you'll use every day without even maybe noticing that you're using it, but it helps you to connect with someone else who would have that more strongly in their communication preferences. So adapting to one another is a vital way of building connection, of increasing community, of offering our strengths and our passions to one another in order to be beneficial to one another. And also it builds teamwork. It increases our effectiveness at work. It increases our impact in the community. It builds stronger families and stronger relationships. All of those things flow from caring enough to adapt to the person around us. A person who lacks that ability can often need help to grow to a place where they can care enough. Usually it's because of a great deal of unmet communication need in the past that we need help to overcome. And so that's one of the areas that I love to help people with, to recognize the if you like, the scarring, if I could use that analogy, of a lack of communication skill in my background, work through that, figure out what caused it and how to change it, how to address it, so that I can become whole enough, healthy enough develop the essential qualities to develop in each of my stronger languages so that I can be healthy moving forward and I can care enough about those around me that I can adapt to them. The healthiest person always goes first. And if you can be one of those healthier people, the people around you will thank you for it. So care enough to adapt. It may be that you are more skilled in that area than those that you want to connect with. American business wastes billions of dollars every year on miscommunication. If you're ready to change that trend, invest in communication IQ today because it will give you a great return in terms of employee alignment, retention, customer engagement, profitability, sales outcomes. All of those areas will grow as you understand the science of communication. So go to my website at markburlinson.com, click on the business button, and let's have an introductory chat today about how I can help your business be more productive by enhancing communication. And then finally for this episode, my final one-liner, I like this one. Identify your uniqueness. Because every one of us is different and every one of us is wired in specific and unique ways to make a contribution to a team and to the community that no one else can offer. It's rather like your fingerprints are completely different from anybody else on the whole planet. That's an amazing fact, isn't it? But it's true. You can be identified by your fingerprints, and you can also be identified by your blend of communication styles. That's what makes you you. That's what makes it possible for others to interact with you, for you to give benefit and pleasure and enhancement to those around you. But you need to identify your uniqueness so that we can celebrate it with you, but also so that you can leverage your strengths for the benefit of others as well as for your own growth. I love tools like Strengths Finder, where you recognize that you have strengths to offer because it affirms who you are and what you bring to the rest of us in the community, whether it's your colleagues in the workplace or whether it's your friends in your social settings or whether it's in your family at home. Wherever it may be, you have a unique contribution to make. And I find there are two pitfalls in the area of uniqueness. The one is where I have great pride in my uniqueness and I see myself as superior. That's a rare pitfall, but when it's there, it needs to be challenged and it needs to be broadened so that I begin to see the good in others as well. Or a more common pitfall is that I compare myself with others and I see myself as less than. I'm not as successful, I'm not as attractive, I'm not as powerful, I'm not as clear in my communication, I'm not as friendly, I'm not whatever it might be. And all of those things are lies that you need to reject if you're going to fully be who you're wired to be. We need you to fulfill your potential. We need you to express your uniqueness. And so if you can identify your uniqueness and we can validate it with you, that's a huge gift, not just to you, but to the rest of us as well. Because your community, your workplace, your family, your friends need you to be fully you, not to hold back, not to be proud, not to understate your contribution, nor to overstate it, but simply to be comfortable to be who you're designed to be, to fulfill your potential to your best effort, your best degree. Because if you can identify your uniqueness, we all benefit. And of course, the Communication IQ profile is a great starting point with that. It gives you language, it gives you understanding to then adapt your uniqueness to the uniqueness of others around you. Because your uniqueness and my uniqueness are all a blend of those 7 communication styles that every one of us has in different measures, in different blends. Different recipes with the same ingredients. And so let's enjoy the buffet of all of us being unique, but all of us combining our efforts together so we all play our part in the bigger picture of our community. So thanks for listening this week. We'll see you again next week with another episode. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. It would mean a lot to me if you'd rate and review the podcast so it helps more listeners to find us. But also, would you give me your feedback on things you'd like to hear about in future episodes? And remember to share the episode with a friend if you see something that would benefit them as well. You can reach me with feedback through my website at markburlinson.com. Just click on the contact button and send me a message. I respond to everyone personally, and I really want to hear from you. So thank you again for listening, sharing, reviewing, and giving me your feedback.